The Line in the Stars. Commander Elena Kowalski stood at the viewport of the Earth Defense Force flagship Retribution, watching as the holographic display cycled through the images from Proxima Centauri. The colony, humanity's first successful extraterrestrial settlement, was gone. Not damaged, not injured. Gone. Where once stood a thriving community of 30,000 souls, now lay only scorched earth and molecular ash. The satellite imagery showed thermal signatures that exceeded anything natural. This had been deliberate, methodical, and absolute. "Play it again," she ordered, her voice steady despite the knot in her stomach. The AI complied, and the final transmission from Proxima Centauri replayed. Governor Ishida's face appeared, bloody but composed. "This is our final transmission. The Ardani vessels have breached our outer defenses. They're not responding to hails. They're not taking prisoners. Their static consumed the image momentarily, calling us an evolutionary mistake. They say our aggression markers make us unfit for galactic society. Elena, if anyone receives this..." The transmission cut off with a flash of light so intense it overloaded the sensors. 7 billion humans on Earth had watched that transmission. 7 billion humans had just witnessed the first genocide of their species in interstellar space. "Commander," Lieutenant Zhang approached, his tablet displaying an incoming message. "The Galactic Council has responded to our petition." Elena took the tablet, scanning the formal diplomatic language before finding the only part that mattered. "Request for sanctions against the Ardani hegemony. DENID. Insufficient evidence of targeted extinction. Matter classified as territorial dispute outside Council jurisdiction." Insufficient evidence, she repeated, the words tasting like ash. 30,000 human colonists vaporize, and it's a territorial dispute. "What do we do now, Commander?" Zhang asked, his young face betraying the fear they all felt. Humanity had only been part of the galactic community for 3 decades. The Ardani had been members for 9 millennia. "We deliver this to the Security Council," she said, handing back the tablet. "And then we stop acting like we're part of their civilization." The United Earth Security Council chamber was silent as the final evidence was presented. Every nation's representative, once divided by politics, economics, and history, sat united by an emotion. Humans had evolved in the dangerous cradle of Earth. Righteous fury. Admiral Chen, highest-ranking officer of Earth's combined military forces, stood at the center of the chamber. "The evidence is conclusive. The Ardani intercepted and decoded our colonial communications for years. They studied our biology, our psychology, and classified us as," I quote from their internal communications, "a Deathworld species too dangerous to permit expansion." The holographic display showed internal Ardani communications, translated by Earth's best xenolinguists. The plan had been deliberate. Study the humans, determine their weaknesses, and eradicate them before they could become a threat. Proxima Centauri was to be the first of many such cleansing operations. "The Ardani underestimated us in one crucial aspect," Admiral Chen continued. "They assumed our technological inferiority meant we couldn't intercept their quantum-encrypted communications. They forgot that humans evolved on a world where pattern recognition meant survival." "What are our options?" asked the representative from the African Union, her voice cutting through the tension. "Diplomatically, none. The Council has made their position clear," Chen replied. "Militarily, also none, if we play by their rules. The Ardani possess technology centuries beyond ours. Direct conventional conflict would result in Earth's destruction." "Then we don't play by their rules," said President Alvarez, speaking for the first time. "We evolved on a death world, as they call it. Our ancestors survived predators, plagues, and each other. If the Ardani want to treat us as dangerous animals, perhaps it's time to show them why Earth's predators are feared." "Operation Deathworld." Admiral Chen nodded, activating a new secure briefing on the displays. "A response that leverages what the Ardani see as our greatest weakness, Our evolutionary history as territorial, adaptable predators from a high-gravity, high-radiation, biologically diverse planet. Commander Kowalski watched as the chamber erupted in discussion. In 3 decades of peaceful contact with galactic civilization, humanity had tried to suppress what aliens saw as their savage nature. They'd presented themselves as thoughtful, cooperative, peaceful, and in response, the Ardani had marked them for extermination. 3 months later, Elena stood in a laboratory deep beneath the Olympus Mons colony on Mars, watching as scientists made final adjustments to what they called the Deathworld arsenal. The Ardani made a critical mistake in their assessment, Dr. Yoshida explained, leading Elena through the high-security facility. They saw our adaptability as a threat, but didn't understand its implications. They've evolved in stable environments with minimal predators for millions of years. Their biochemistry, their neural patterns, their sensory systems, all are dramatically different from ours. The first section of the laboratory contained what looked like conventional weapons, but Elena knew better. Gravity-adaptive infantry platforms, Dr. Yoshida said. Humans evolved in 1G. The Ardani homeworld is 0.6 G. Our soldiers will move faster, hit harder, and endure longer than anything in their evolutionary experience. And this? Elena asked, pointing to what looked like a series of sound generators. Acoustic weapons tuned to Ardani auditory physiology. Their hearing evolved to detect prey at much higher frequencies than ours. These emit modulated sounds that induced vertigo, disorientation, and eventually neural shutdown, completely harmless to humans. They passed through a biohazard containment field to reach the next section. Our most controversial tools, Yoshida said quietly. Targeted biological agents, not designed to kill. We're not becoming genocidal monsters ourselves, but to incapacitate. The Ardani respiratory system is highly specialized. These compounds temporarily paralyze their breathing mechanisms without causing permanent damage. Elena nodded, thinking of the Proxima colonists who had received no such mercy. The final section contained what looked like standard communication equipment. The psychological warfare package, explained Dr. Yoshida. The Ardani evolved as hive-mind semi-telepaths. Their neural architecture requires constant confirmation from their social hierarchy. These transmitters generate signals that mimic their command frequencies but induce doubt, confusion, and the equivalent of what humans would call existential dread. You're telling me we can make an entire Ardani battle group question their own existence? Elena asked. Precisely. They'd never experienced psychological warfare. Their species has been unified for so long they have no cultural concept of deception in communication. They're innocent in that way. Elena thought about this for a moment, and yet they chose genocide. Yes, Yoshida said quietly. They did. 2 weeks later, Admiral Chen personally promoted Elena to the rank of Field Marshal, placing her in command of humanity's first strike force. The mission was clear, not extermination, but demonstration. The Ardani must learn that attacking a Deathworld species has consequences. Shen told her during the private ceremony. Break their military capability. Demonstrate our weapons. Make it clear that any further aggression against human settlements will result in their extinction, not ours. And the Galactic Council? Elena asked. Will observe and learn the same lesson, Chen replied. Humanity tried to join their peaceful community as equals. They rejected us and condoned our destruction. Now they can deal with us as we truly are. Survivors who will do whatever is necessary to ensure our species' continuation. The briefing room of the Retribution was filled to capacity as Elena addressed her strike team. 5 ships, each carrying specialized units trained in the new weapons systems, prepared for departure to Ardani Prime. The faces looking back at her showed the full diversity of Earth, different races, cultures, and backgrounds, now united in purpose. What we do today will define humanity's place in the galaxy for centuries to come, Elena told them. The Ardani believe us to be savages beneath a thin veneer of civilization. They're partly correct. Humans have always carried within us both the capacity for compassion and for terrible violence. We evolved that way because Earth demanded it. She paced the length of the room, making eye contact with as many of her soldiers as possible. But here is what the Ardani fail to understand. We choose which aspect of our nature to express. For 30 years, we chose peace. We chose cooperation. We chose to join a galactic community. And in response, they chose to exterminate us. The room was silent, every person there thinking of the Proxima colony and the families lost. Today, we stopped choosing peace. We stopped pretending to be something we're not. Today, we show the galaxy what happens when you corner a Deathworld species, when you threaten our children, when you mistake our cooperation for weakness. She activated the mission display, showing the approach to Ardani Prime. We will not commit genocide. We will not become the monsters they believe us to be, but we will make them understand, with absolute clarity, that humanity will not be exterminated, that the price of trying is too high for any species to pay. Elena looked at the determined faces before her. Scientists, soldiers, tacticians, all trained for this moment. The Ardani called us an evolutionary mistake, she said. By the time we're done, they'll understand their mistake was evolutionary. They spent millions of years in comfort, without predators, without challenges. We spent millions of years fighting for every breath on a world that tried to kill us daily. Now we'll show them which evolutionary path prepared a species better for the realities of this universe. The strike force departed Earth orbit 12 hours later, the 5 vessels accelerating toward the jump point that would take them to Ardani space. In the privacy of her quarters, Elena reviewed the images from Proxima one final time, then closed the file. Humanity had tried civilization. Now they would remind the galaxy of the predators they had once been. Deathworld Response to Genocide. Part 2. When Prey Becomes Predator. The Retribution emerged from the jump point at the edge of the Ardani system, followed by its 4 sister ships. Consequence, Reckoning, Judgment, and Nemesis. Elena watched as the tactical display populated with Ardani vessels, sleek, organic-looking ships that reflected their creators' 9,000 years of technological advancement. Stealth systems holding, reported Lieutenant Zhang from the tactical station. They haven't detected us yet. Elena nodded, studying the pattern of Ardani ships. Their fleet moved with perfect synchronization, a product of their semi-telepathic communication. Beautiful, in its way, like a school of fish or a murmuration of starlings. Efficient, elegant, and utterly vulnerable to the right kind of disruption. Deploy the ghost drones, she ordered. From each human vessel, dozens of small unmanned craft silently deployed, their hull materials absorbing and redirecting sensor suites. The drones carried no conventional weapons, only transmitters designed to interface with Ardani communication frequencies. Drones in position. Zhang confirmed after 30 minutes. All critical Ardani vessels are within range. Elena took a deep breath. This was the moment where humanity would reveal itself, not as the cooperative species they'd pretended to be, but as what Earth had truly forged. Adaptive predators who turned weaknesses into strengths. Activate Phase 1, she commanded. On the Ardani command vessel, Harmonious Ascension, Fleet Commander Zentor was reviewing preparations for the next cleansing operation when the first discordant thought struck him. A momentary doubt, unfamiliar and jarring, about the righteousness of exterminating the humans. He physically recoiled, his 4 upper limbs twitching in distress. Such thoughts were impossible. The consensus had determined the humans were dangerous, their neural patterns indicating latent aggression that would eventually threaten all civilized species. The humans were violent, unpredictable, and most dangerously, individually decisive without needing hierarchical confirmation. Yet the doubt persisted, spreading like a stain across his normally crystalline thought patterns. Around him, he noticed other command staff experiencing similar distress. Junior officers were clutching their sensory appendages, their skin shifting to distress coloration. Communication disruption, announced the sensor officer, voice wavering with uncharacteristic uncertainty. Source unknown. Impossible, Zintor replied, though even as he said it, he felt another wave of doubt crash through his mind. How could any species penetrate Ardani communication protocols? They had been perfected millennia ago. The main display suddenly activated, showing an image that made the entire command crew freeze in unified horror. A human face. "Attention Ardani fleet," said the human, a female with dark skin and eyes that seemed to bore into Zintor's soul. "I am Field Marshal Elena Kowalski of Earth. You know us. You studied us. You determined we were too dangerous to exist. And then you murdered 30,000 of our people at Proxima Centauri." Zintor struggled to maintain composure as dissonant thoughts crashed through his mind. How had humans reached Ardani Prime? How were they penetrating secure communications? How were they inducing these feelings? "We received your message clearly," the human continued, her voice modulated in ways that made Zintor's inner ears ache. "You believe Deathworld species have no place in your galactic community. Today, we accept your judgment. We will no longer pretend to be what we are not." The display split to show 5 human vessels, decloaking in perfect attack formation. Vessels that Ardani sensors should have detected long before they reached the homeworld. "Battle stations," Zintor ordered, fighting through the waves of doubt and fear that had no place in an Ardani mind. "Prepare defensive measures." But the command staff moved sluggishly, their coordination disrupted by whatever the humans were doing to their communication frequencies. For a species that thought and acted as one, this interference was more than tactical. It was existential. As the Ardani fleet struggled to respond, the human vessels released what appeared to be thousands of tiny objects. Not missiles, something else. "What are they?" Zintor demanded. "Unknown," replied the tactical officer, his skin now fully shifted to distress coloration. "Too small for weapons platforms. No energy signatures consistent with explosive devices." The tiny objects accelerated toward the Ardani fleet, easily evading the few defensive measures the confused crews managed to deploy. "There, attaching to our hulls," reported the sensor officer. "No breach attempts." "No." He suddenly clutched his breathing apparatus, gasping. Throughout the command vessel, Ardani began to collapse, their respiratory systems seizing. Zintor felt his own breathing passages constricting as an unfamiliar scent reached his sensory organs. Not deadly, he could still draw minimal air, but debilitating. Through watering vision ports, he watched the tactical display as the perfectly coordinated Ardani defense fleet dissolved into chaos. Some vessels drifted aimlessly. Others fired randomly into space. A few turned weapons on their own allies. The human's face reappeared on the screen. "This is not extermination," she said, her voice somehow cutting through the chaos. "This is education. You believed us savage. You were right. But you failed to understand what that means." Elena watched from the bridge of the Retribution as the Ardani fleet dissolved into disarray. The biological agents were working exactly as designed, temporarily paralyzing respiratory functions without causing permanent damage. The psychological warfare transmitters had shattered the Ardani hive mind communication, leaving individual ships without the collective guidance they relied upon. "Second wave deployed," reported Zhang. "Ground targets acquired." Across Ardani Prime, key military installations were being targeted with the same combination of biological and psychological weapons. Not population centers. Elena had been explicit about that. This was not genocide. This was demonstration. "Status of the Ardani High Command Facility?" she asked. "Defenses neutralized," John replied. "Landing zones secure for deployment." Elena nodded. "Prepare my shuttle. Tactical Team Alpha will accompany me." She turned to her executive officer. "You have the bridge, Commander Okafor. Maintain position and continue deployment according to the mission profile." 20 minutes later, Elena's shuttle descended through the golden atmosphere of Ardani Prime, escorted by fighters that faced no resistance. The Ardani defense grid, once considered the most sophisticated in the galaxy, lay dormant, its operators incapacitated. The shuttle landed in what appeared to be a ceremonial plaza outside the sweeping, organic architecture of the Ardani High Command. Alina emerged with her tactical team, each wearing the powered exoskeletons designed for Earth normal gravity operations. On the 0.6G world of the Ardani, the suits made them terrifyingly fast and strong. The plaza was littered with incapacitated Ardani, their breathing shallow but stable. Alina's team moved past them, their footfalls impossibly light despite their armored bulk, into the heart of the command structure. They encountered no resistance. The few Ardani still conscious watched with wide vision ports as the humans passed, their skin displaying colors that the xenopsychologists had identified as indicating extreme fear. The central chamber of the High Command was a massive dome of living crystal, designed to amplify and purify the telepathic connections of Ardani leadership. At its center sat the 7 members of the Ardani Consensus, the ruling body that had ordered the extinction of humanity. 6 were clearly incapacitated by the biological agents. The 7th, distinguished by elaborate markings on his upper limbs, remained upright though visibly struggling. Supreme Harmonizer Renvos, Alina said, her suit's external speakers translating her words into the precise tonal patterns of formal Ardani language. You ordered the death of my species. The Ardani leader's breathing was labored, but he managed to respond. You prove our assessment violent, unpredictable, dangerous. Alina removed her helmet, exposing herself to the Ardani atmosphere, a calculated risk that made her tactical team tense. Yes, we are all those things. We evolved on a world that tried to kill us every day. Our history is written in blood and survival. When we met your civilization, we tried to be better than our nature. We embraced peace, cooperation, mutual advancement. She stepped closer to the struggling alien. And you took that for weakness. Not weakness, Renvod managed. Deception, temporary restraint, before inevitable aggression. You made it inevitable, Alina replied. You murdered 30,000 humans who had never offered you violence. The very act you feared you caused. She activated a holographic projector on her wrist, displaying the faces of Proxima Centauri's colonists. Men, women, children, all now reduced to ash. Look at them, she demanded. Memorize their faces. They are why I stand here today. They are why your mighty fleet lies disabled. They are why your defenses failed. They are why you now understand fear. What do you want? The Ardani leader asked, his skin cycling through colors of distress. Alina's voice was steel. I want you to live, Renvos. I want every Ardani to live and remember this day. I want you to understand what humanity truly is, not what you feared, but what you've created. She gestured to her tactical team, who deployed a larger holographic projector in the center of the chamber. It displayed the Earth, rotating slowly. This is our homeworld. A Deathworld, as you call it. High gravity, intense radiation, extreme climate variations, countless predators, diseases, natural disasters. We didn't just survive there. We thrived. Not because we're stronger or smarter than you, but because we never stop adapting. The display shifted to show Ardani vessels fleeing the Proxima Centauri colony after the attack. You thought you were eliminating a threat. Instead, you awakened it. You forced us to adapt again, this time to you. She looked around the chamber at the incapacitated Ardani leadership. Today, we could wipe out your species as you tried to wipe out ours. That was within our power from the moment we landed. But we choose not to. Not from weakness, but because, unlike you, we understand the difference between capability and necessity. Renvo's breathing had stabilized somewhat as the biological agent began to wear off, exactly as designed. The Galactic Council will not permit this aggression. Alina's laugh was cold. The council denied our petition for justice. They classified the murder of 30,000 humans as a territorial dispute. They will receive the same message you have. Humanity will not be exterminated. We will not be relegated to our homeworld. We will expand, we will grow, and we will remember who stood with us and who stood against us. She nodded to her tactical team, who began setting up small devices around the chamber. These will release the counteragent to what's affecting your people. Within 6 hours, all Ardani will fully recover. We leave you with your lives, your world, and a choice. Alina put her helmet back on, the seals hissing as it reconnected. Respect us as equals, or fear us as the predators your actions have unleashed. Either way, remember this. We evolved on a death world. We survived. So will you, but only at our discretion. 3 days later, Alina stood before the United Earth Security Council, delivering her report. The tactical display showed Ardani Prime, its defense fleet slowly recovering, its leadership scrambling to respond to the new reality. The demonstration was complete and successful, she concluded. Ardani military capability has been neutralized without permanent damage. Their leadership has been shown the consequences of further aggression against human settlements. And the Galactic Council? Asked President Alvarez. They're reconsidering their position. Elena replied with a thin smile. Our transmissions of the operation were broadcast on all council frequencies. Every member species has now witnessed what happens when a Deathworld species is pushed too far. The Council has extended an official apology for its misclassification of the Proxima incident and offered reparations. Admiral Chen leaned forward. And what is your assessment of our future relations with galactic civilization, Field Marshal? Elena considered the question carefully. Changed, sir, fundamentally and permanently. They welcomed us initially because they thought we were like them, evolved for cooperation, hierarchy, stability. Now they know we're something else entirely, a species shaped by hardship, capable of both great compassion and terrible violence. Will they fear us? Asked the representative from the European Federation. Yes, Elena answered honestly, and they should. Not because we wish them harm, but because they need to understand that humanity will not be trifled with. We offered peace, and they responded with genocide. We demonstrated power and offered mercy. The choice of what comes next is theirs. After the briefing, Elena found herself alone at the memorial to Proxima Centauri, a simple wall of black stone engraved with 30,000 names. She traced her fingers over one. Maria Santiago, age 6, who had wanted to be an astronaut when she grew up. Was it worth it? Asked a voice behind her. Admiral Chen had approached silently. They'll never try to exterminate us again, Elena replied. The Ardani, the Council, any of them. In that sense, yes. But, she turned to face him. But we revealed ourselves. Not the mask we wore for 30 years, but what Earth truly made us. Survivors, predators, beings who turn disadvantages into strengths, beings who can inflict terrible damage when threatened. Chen nodded slowly. You worry we've become what they feared. I worry we've always been what they feared, Elena corrected. And now they know it. The galaxy will never look at humanity the same way again. Perhaps that's for the best, Chen said after a moment. No more pretending to be something we're not. No more hiding our nature. Just honest coexistence. They respect our boundaries. We respect theirs. Elena looked back at the memorial, at the thousands of names of people who would never see what humanity had revealed itself to be. There's an old Earth saying, Admiral, speak softly and carry a big stick. For 30 years we spoke softly and hid our stick. The Ardani mistook that for weakness. Now everyone knows what we're capable of. And what happens next? Elena's expression was resolute yet troubled. We go back to speaking softly. But this time, everyone knows about the stick. That's the price of security in this universe. We tried civilization their way. It failed. Now we do it our way. As they walked away from the memorial, Alina thought about the faces of the Ardani leadership as they realized what humanity truly was, not just technological innovators or diplomatic partners, but survivors of a crucible more demanding than anything the Ardani had faced in millions of years of evolution. The galaxy had awakened a species forged in Earth's unforgiving cradle, a species that had faced extinction countless times and always adapted, always survived. A species that, when pushed beyond its considerable patience, stopped being civilized and remembered its origins. Humanity had drawn a line in the stars, written in the language all species ultimately understood: power. And while Alina hoped never to cross that line again, she took grim comfort in knowing that no one else would dare cross it either. The Deathworlders had spoken, and the galaxy had listened.